Hello there and welcome to this course on data visualization with Altair. My name is Valentine and I'll be your instructor. In this course, we're going to be going through this Python library called Altair. It's a visualization library that allows us to be able to create visualization in a simple and a friendly way. You might also be asking why a new library when you probably can be able to create visualizations with Matplotlib or Seaborn or Plotly. But again, the idea here is to be able to equip you with just skills in relation to Python that would make your work easier. And Altair is that visualization library that can allow you to be able to do that. So let's get started. This is the official library page. So feel free to also visit it. It's altairviz github.io. And yeah, so let's get started. The first thing that you need to do is to visit the description section of this video and click on the practice resource page link that should take you to this page. Then you just sign in and then you can be able to get to the resources. Just clicking on continue learning. You get to the sample notebook. If you're an Afterwork member, you have access to the practice notebook, which is just like the sample notebook, but with a whole lot more challenges. And in addition, you also get to have access to the solution notebook again if you're an Afterwork member. But again, if you're just here to just explore, you can work on the sample notebook. So click on that. So once you get to the notebook, make a copy by going to file, save a copy, and you should have a copy. So yeah, so let's begin. The first thing that we need to do once we have a copy, we can import the required libraries. We will import pandas as well as Altair. And the beauty with Altair is just you can create visualization quickly, even interactive visualizations that would allow you to just do basic data analysis. So you get to see that we can create some of our visualization really quickly. All right, so once you have been able to import the libraries, the next thing that we need to do is just to learn how to use Altair. So assuming we wanted to create a scatter plot, first of all, we would need to load the data and just preview it. So that's what we're doing here using pandas. Then we can quickly prepare that data. So we decide to perform some conversion. So here we are simply converting the total revenue column as well as the quantity sold column to the respective data types so that we can use them in the visualization. So we just do that quickly to just convert them. Should have used D types instead so that you're able to see that conversion. So let's do that. Let me do that again, D types. Okay, so that you can be able to see the conversion. So you can see total revenue has float and quantity sold has integers. And then we just now use Altair to create the visualization. So we use alt chart .chart to be able to specify that we want to create a chart object. And we pass data, which will be the data frame. And we specify that we want to create a scatter plot using the mark circle method. So normally function. So normally there will be different functions that we can use to perform visualization. For scatter plot, it's mark circle, and we specify the dots, the size of the dots that we have in our scatter plot. Here we want size 60, and then we use the encode method to specify what we want on the x-axis. We want quantity, and we also define that quantity sold has quantitative type of information, which is just numerical information. The same case we do for the x-axis. And we also set the tooltip. So on our visualization, we want to be able to have users interact with the visualization using a tooltip. So we also set that the tooltip should have the following information. So inside this Python list, we have product name, which is nominal in nature. So it would have categorical, that's categorical data. We also specify quantity sold, quantitative, as well as total revenue. And once we do that, once we have set that, we can also set some other configuration information in terms of the chart. So we want to have the title to be what we set here. So we use the properties method for that, as well as the width and height parameters for that. And then we have that and save that object inside scatter plot, and then we display the scatter plot. So this is a quick way of just being able to preview that. Here we have some output, just a warning, future warning. This means that the convert data type, which Altair uses at the core, will be depreciated. For now, we don't need that. We'll just see that later. But yeah, this is our scatter plot. If you drag your mouse on top of the points, you should be able to see the tooltip that gives us information that we had defined here. And that's it. That's it with regards to this visualization. We can download it, as you see here, in different formats, or even open it in a different, it's called a Vega editor, that we can use to further customize the visualization. But again, this is a quick way of just being able to create a visualization. Yeah, so for now, we'll just ignore this warning, but we can just do that by just suppressing it so that we don't get those future warnings. Yeah, so pause the video and then work on the challenge. In some other situations, we might want to create a box plot. We would prepare our data. So in our case here, we want to create a box plot for the total sales and category columns, and we set the respective data types for that. To create a box plot, we use the mark box plot function, as you see here. Then inside encode, we specify on the x-axis, we want to work with the following box plot. We specify data. So the x-axis, we want category, which is nominal. And then we would want to have still on that object chart, total sales is what we want on the y-axis, and we set the titles for those axes. And aside from that, we set the color. So the color that we want here is one that we get from the category column, and we set the properties for the entire visualization. So here we'll have box plots for the different categories, and on the x-axis we'll just have the total sales. So you see here we have a box plot for electronics and also office supplies, and yeah, so this is generally what we get. We have a box plot of total sales by product category, and we can see we have an outlier here. And if you drag your mouse on the tooltip, you can see we have just some more information about the box plot itself. Right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. Moving on, in the pie chart, we in a case where we want to create a pie chart, so we would need to prepare data. So we would essentially might want to create a pie chart from this summary table. How we do that is that we use the mark arc function, and we set that in our encode function, we want the parameter theta, which will define the data that we want to use to create the different pies or the arcs in the chart. We would use now the theta parameter, and we set it to this value, alt theta. Then we specify the field and the type of information. Same case with color, tooltip. We want it to have category and total sales, and that's it generally. So if we run this, we should be able to see a chart that contains the information that we want. We could, of course, add more information, but this is just a quick way of just creating a pie chart, the pie chart that we want. Pause the video and then work on the challenge. In some other situations, we might want to create a bubble chart. A bubble chart is more like a scatter plot. The only thing is that the difference is that we have a size of there's another variable, which is the size of the scatter plots or the points that would vary. So let's load the data and convert, have our data have the right data type. So unit price and total revenue, those are the variables that we want to use. Then we use mark circle to be able to create our visualization, and we specify on the x-axis we want total revenue, y-axis quantity sold, size of the plot, unit price to be the size of the different points. So if you have unit price which is slightly little, then you'll have a smaller point. But here we could have also done the same thing, conversion for I think total revenue, but we did not do that. The assumption was that it's okay. And also we can set aside the color so that the colors also of the points give us some more information about the points, and we set also the tooltip values, and that's it. So you should be able to see a bubble plot here. So you can, if you drag your mouse, you should be able to see the plot is shown. Pause the video and then work on the challenge. Moving on, we might want to create a bar chart. So we prepare the data that we need. So the data we want to use is category and total sales. And then to create a bar chart, we use mark bar function, and we set the parameters for encode function to as shown here. We could have still used the approach that we used earlier, like for scatter plot, we just simply defined what we had here. But for bar chart, we just use this other method, which is slightly longer, but it's still okay. Alt X, we want to use category, and we set the title for that. The same case, the color for the use, as well as the tooltip information. And you can see we have that. Right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. Moving on, a line chart. To create a line chart, so assuming that we have the following data, so I'm going to just prepare this data. This is just information about sales orders. We can have this bar chart, and we are not bar chart, this data, and we might want to have that in a line chart. So we use the mark line function, and we specify the columns. So we specify that here, and yeah, so T just means you have time series information, temporal data, temporal, just time series type of information. And yeah, so that's generally it. It's not that difficult, and you know, we have now this our visualization, and we can do whatever that we want with it. Just a few lines of code. It's and a visually appealing chart. Moving on, we might want to maybe align or just lay out our charts vertically if you have multiple charts. So we can load this data, and here we are going to create two charts. So this again is just orders information in regards to sales. We might want to create a bar chart, which we create here, and then a line chart, which we create here. So to order them, we can use vconcat function. So we pass the first chart that we want to have at the top, then the second one below, and we display that chart. So here we have our visualizations. So they're ordered vertically, and we can also do that horizontally, but work on the challenge for vconcat. So for horizontally, we can again load our data, prepare it, and then we can create our bar chart. So this is our bar chart that we've created, and then we can also create a line chart, but then we might decide to lay them horizontally. So we use hconcat, so and then we pass those chart objects to hconcat, and that will just give us a combined chart, but now in a horizontal way. Right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. In some other situations, we might want to add them on top of each other. So in this situation, assuming that we have maybe a bar chart, so this is the data that we've prepared. We have a bar chart and a line chart. We could put the line chart on top of the bar chart, maybe for just some, information. But how we do that, we just use the plus addition operator. So we take the bar chart and the line chart, they will be laid on top of each other. Yeah, so the output would be the layered chart as we see here. Right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. By the way, this may not make sense. Maybe a line chart would make sense, having 2 line chart, but this is just for learning purposes. Lastly, we can create or add more interactivity aside from the tooltips by simply setting that up. So we can decide to have maybe zoom as well as panning. So let's load our data, and we can create a visualization as shown here. So here we have created a line chart, and which is order and total sales, but then we define that we want to have zoom capabilities as shown here. So adding in zoom and panning capabilities, we set the zoom capabilities using selection interval, as well as add that to our base, which is now the visualization object that we have here. And we also would want to also have the ability to pan, which we also set using also transform filter. And we display that with now those interactive abilities by specifying that. But here we also just add a grid to be able to just get a visualization that we can be able to extract information much easily. But again, don't forget, we add interactive function at the end of our object, the chart object. And if you run this, you should be able to see our visualization, and you can move around, you can drag, and you can also zoom in if you use your mouse and scroll in. Use your fingers if you're using a touchpad and scroll in, you can be able to do that. The beauty also behind this is if you maybe want to focus on a certain area, like this is a visualization that we want, we can go ahead and download it as a PNG or SVG and use it for presentations. All right, so pause the video and then work on the challenge. And that's it. And that's it with regards to this learning experience. We hope you're able to learn about Altair. People usually are much more curious about some of these tools. If you did love this experience, you found it important, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It tells us that we're doing a good job. It also tells us, tells others that this is a good resource. And if you'd want to be informed when we post such future learning experiences, be sure to subscribe, and see you in the next learning experience. Bye-bye.